Good evening, all. Hopefully, you can hear me all right, and I'm coming through okay. Good evening to Dark Matter, Shadow Girl, Jadomo, Can, Edison, Ray, Matthew, Wiggy. Good evening, all. Good to see you all. And that's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of people because it's a bit of a weird point in the Star Citizen news cycle, as I'm sure you've all noticed. So yeah, we'll go. Yeah, thanks, Striker. Cheers for that. Appreciate it. But good evening, Striker, Stevie, Sol, Tom. Good to see everyone. Yeah, so that's good news. Um, First of all, because it is a Sunday and it is a chill stream, and we are drinkers with gaming problems, it's time to have a beer. So cheers to everyone. It's another Brewdog cold beer. That's actually what it's called this evening. So I'll just drink some of this and cheers to everyone. So yeah, so it's been a bit of an interesting week. We had a bit of a Friday night ops thing on Friday night, obviously, which was good fun. Lots of people getting together. I was really quite tired, so I kind of loitered in the background and then got annoyed at various bugs and bits and pieces. But we'll talk about that later because I think that might be important. But yeah, Roy, good evening. Hey, YouTube commercials are crazy bad. They are indeed. I have put it on the minimum amount that you can set it to. And I'm not going to lie, to be honest, if I see it popping up with ads are due soon, I do try to kill them. But, I do, I have a little bit of income from these streams. Not much at all, but yeah, that. So, um, it's raining, the window's open, so all the bugs have found the room to come and live in, so it's going to be a thing. It's alright, because we've only got about 2 more weeks of all of this at this temperature before the bugs will fuck off. So that's great. But that's why I keep and stuff, because it was actually quite sunny yesterday, so I put the window open, and then of course I left it open overnight, and now they're all just here. So yes, so Badgers and Friends streaming for you this evening. But yeah, SC's banished Dark Matter to Grim Hex. Apparently, that's not good. Major Star Stuff. Good evening. Apparently, there's a trick to setting above a certain level. It stops the pre-rolls. There's only 3 settings, so it's conservative, moderate, or intensive, I think. So yeah, there's that. On normal videos, you can actually choose where they are, but live streams, obviously, because there is no thing, you can't have a go. But yeah. Come live in Australia. Interesting. Yes. Well, yeah, Wiggy. I mean, that's the upside of the bugs here, is none of them are trying to actually kill me. Yeah, Jadomo's right. I should name one of the bugs 318 and then squig it. Um, but yeah, so unsurprisingly, the hurry up and wait thing, it's sometimes a little bit frustrating, and I know it's frustrating for you guys as well. It's no different being a content creator than it is just being someone who's waiting for Star Citizen. But, we're in the content drought now. For some reason, Star Citizen thinks it's reasonable to have this hiatus where no one's told them, like, you can make videos in advance so people can still go on holiday and have time off, and you just do the videos ahead of time and then upload them and schedule them like a normal video, and we can get content and they can get time off, and it's like everybody wins. It doesn't have to be an either or. I don't know why it's this difficult, but yeah. I don't know. I know that's kind of a little bit hypocritical coming from me, but this is my day job. And, if you paid me whatever it is the subscribers are raking in per year now, like 4 mil, I'd push out video a week, like without fail. I promise. So yeah, unless there's any multi-millionaire sugar daddy in chat who wants to pay me £4 million a year to do this. That's not likely anytime soon, I admit. But yeah, that'll be good. Planning ahead, madness, says AV. Good evening, bud. Good to see you. Good to see you, Stakara Good. And to anyone else that I've missed, I apologise profusely. But yeah, good to see a really good turnout in chat. Yes, yeah, and then the Helldivers 2 theme. Or, more appropriately recently, the Space Marine 2 theme. Watching Titus smash Xenos in the face with a really big hammer, because that's what I'm about. So yeah, it's good fun. Let's be fair, planning is not CIG's strong suit. You are not kidding, sir, says Matthew. Absolutely. More multi-millionaire sugar parents for everybody? Yeah, absolutely. Talk about other games, says Dark Matter. We can absolutely have a chat about some other games as well. There's actually a really cool game, if you're into story games, that I know will make one person in chat very, very happy for me to talk about. We will talk about it in a little while. It's a game called Unavowed, so go and have a look at it on Steam. But probably one of my favourite storytelling experiences in a game ever. So yeah, really, really cool. And it was on sale a little while ago. I don't know if it still is, but it was like £3. So, ta-da! Everybody wins. But yeah, so we've actually been playing, or I've actually been playing quite a bit of Star Citizen over the weekend. I know a lot of other people have, thanks to Striker and Jodomo and Sol and Edison and Can and Shadow Girl and everyone else who's been playing over the weekend. It's been quite a lot of fun, actually. However, they're just frustrations. Macho, good to see you, bud. I haven't seen you in a while, mate, I don't think, but yeah, good to see you. Yeah, so the server problems that we've got at the minute, I'm just going to put this up on the screen and put myself into a corner, because I can, I guess, because I want to talk about this next. And it's better than just staring at my face, but we will talk about this in just a second. Yeah, so the adverts. Yeah, I've definitely turned them down. Oh, there you go. Viewers may see ads at different times, so it's not actually giving me the option to do anything about it, so I do apologise. Yeah, to be honest, the income from these is quite small, so I might just not do it, because I'd rather you guys have a good experience and want to stay than get a couple of pence from Livestream. So yeah, I'll give that a go in future, I think. Get premium, says Matthews, is expensive but worth it. I mean, that works too. But yeah. AV says, I tried to play some Star Citizen on Friday. Sarah was so messed up after waiting 10 minutes for the elevator, I decided to quit. Yeah, and do you know what? I got to that stage, I think, with my game on Friday, so I went off to do one of their retrieval ops, which is the go to 3 different derelict outposts, pick up the packages and fly away with them. Not so much for the mission. I like the fact that it gives me some sort of like marker for the derelict outposts so I can find them and then get all the loot. So like I've got a bunch of, or I picked up a bunch of like pristine artifacts and stuff like that, and UE service medals and stuff. But one of them, the problem was, I think what was actually happening in retrospect was I was hitting the arm and I was struggling to lift the gun. The problem is that the way I had experienced that was no different to every other bug where you pull your gun out of your backpack and then it goes back in, and then you pull it out and then you go back in, and then I reloaded twice but it went back to 0 rounds. And you know, when you just like, it's a design flaw. If something's going on in game and it's not easy for the player to figure out why that's occurring, like there was no sound effect, there was no ow, there was none of that stuff. If it's not obvious, that's a bit of a problem. Right, we should be able to figure out what's going on without having to watch 7 YouTube videos about what's going on. So yeah, that was a bit annoying. And after that point, I was like, do you know what? I'm done. What was really good to see, and what I've liked through all of this, is the number of derelict outposts that I've been to, where I've been fighting and they've been pushing up on me. So they don't just stand there in their patrol routes watching their mates get slotted and doing nothing about it. Now they've actually started to, and that fight where I gave up and got shot in the arm, they actually chased me around with that, and I couldn't get back to my Pisces because of where I parked it. I would have had to have crossed the open. So yeah, whether it was a bug or not, the good news there is that the AI were acting very aggressive and really trying to pin me in. So that was cool. And then that replicated a number of times, despite the other bugs that were going on. So, yeah, that was good fun to see. All of a sudden, not so much the UGFs, but the derelict outposts, because killing the guys isn't the objective. No matter how many you killed, you don't get the markers on the rest to help you just go around and chin them all. So that was quite good fun. That was good. Single track, good evening, bud. Good to see you. Currently on holiday in Italy. Well, in the nicest possible way, I'm really chuffed that you've caught the stream. But dude, you're on holiday in Italy. Like, go enjoy yourself. Go get drunk, chat to the Italian ladies or blokes or whatever you know. Go do stuff. Like, I'll still be here. I'll be here next week. It's fine. But no, I hope you're enjoying yourself, mate. Good to see you. Mad World, good to see you, buddy. Evening shippers. Yeah. Alt F is your friend, says Dark Matter. 100%. Get in the corner, you negative badger, says Cam. Rude. But yeah. And so it's been fun. What I wanted to do this weekend was I wanted to have a bit of a weekend of going out with a very simple loadout and armor, and then just spending the weekend going from location to location, surviving on what I was able to pick up, and then like going to the mining outposts because of course they got food and stuff for you to find. The derelict outposts have a lot of food, and then just doing that without coming back, and then just building up like this supply of stuff to come back with. Unfortunately, the reality is that due to one bug or another, that never happened. I had a long old server disconnect that unfortunately then meant that my contracts wouldn't load. So that was that. Yeah, it's been a bit of a rough one, but yeah. Introvert holiday, says Dark Matter. Yeah, absolutely. Single track. I'm drunk. Good. This is what we like. Drunk is good. But yeah, in that case, mate, I wouldn't have you drinking alone because that would be rude. So, what is it in Italy? Is it Salud? I can't remember. Cheers. Ooh, by the way, badges, KFC have 10 millifillets. I can only eat like a very small amount of KFC before just the amount of batter and deep friedness gets to me, and I can't eat anymore. So yeah, that's that. I'm doing that right now in two Corsairs, says Dark Matter. Nice. Yeah. What else we got there? Drink a few for me, says Wiggy. I'm not allowed to drink anymore. Oh, mate, that's rough, right? Sorry to hear that, but I will. Honestly, these midges. Only more 2 more weeks. 2 more weeks. That's all I'm going to deal with. 2 more weeks. But if they're not careful, I'm going to get the can of bug spray out and I'm going to go Banzai. I can't remember where it's under my chair somewhere. I think it's rolled under. And nobody needs to see me kind of go for that. So yeah, it's fine. Glad CIG got rid of the power triangle. Looks a lot better now. Yeah, I mean, so let's talk about the HUD then. So this came through on the email on the weekend, on Friday, late Friday night. I think it was 2100 UTC. So, you know, whatever that is in your time zones. But yeah, what I like about this is that it doesn't just look like it's the MFDs that got the rework. The first thing I like about this is how much the Drake setup looks like an Atari. It's just like looks like everything's loaded by a tape. But yeah, what I do like about it, what I do think is better than most things, is the fact that if you look at the console itself, they're really cool. So you've got lots of different. I think you can see my mouse now. Yeah. So you've got things like sensors on and off, scan and ping. You've got the focus, which is your scrolling the mouse wheel. You know, across here, I can't quite see 'cause the light's in my eyes. But you've got things like coupled, decoupled, G safe. You know, again, you've got displays something there. You've obviously got the self-destruct up here. Headlights on and off. So it looks like a kind of quite a nice, comfortable balance between what we've seen in Star Citizen before, which is something that's fairly easy to use, and DCS. Because what I like about this is the switches look different. The ones that we interact with, you've got the keyboards there, and that's fine. But the interactive ones look a lot different. And yeah, that's quite nice because then you've got that muscle memory. If you don't necessarily need to read all the switches to know which one you're on about, you can just look for it. Like, you know, the scan on the right hand side here, that's quite easy to find now. So yeah, I kind of like this, and obviously it's going to take a hell of a lot of time to put this level of detail, back into every single cockpit, thinking like the freelancers and stuff like that, especially when you consider the different loadouts. It'll also be interesting to see, with the interchangeability of stuff, if utility mounts are interchangeable, how this deals with that, whether it's utility on off, like tractor beam on off, whatever it is. But yeah, it's a nice start, certainly. You know, I'm pleased to kind of see them going down this route. Obviously, I don't expect them to take away all the shortcuts and stuff, so if you're still doing stuff by the keyboard, that's great, because some people are going to find it really frustrating to have to go into interact mode and look around the cockpit and all the switches. But I actually quite like this as an immersion thing. Getting in and having a power on sequence is kind of cool. You know, I'm all for that. So yeah, that's very cool. It's run on Amiga 500, says Mad World. Absolutely 5-inch floppy. I mean, you're not doing bad if it's 5-inch floppy, mate. You know, well done you. Dark Rider says industrial tech should be retro because it's easy to repair and manufacture points. Yeah, and when you think of things like solar flares and stuff like that, analog doesn't take the same. It doesn't get affected the same as digital. So analog systems will survive a lot better through things like electronic interference and that. Yeah. So obviously the screens and that are going to be, a lot of that's going to be digital, but just the up and down switches, I quite dig it. It's almost going towards the whole Alien Nostromo feel, and that's no bad thing. I've completely lost my place. Bear with me. I've just like literally 404'd. We need it so that when we hit buttons like turning on systems, the character physically hits the corresponding buttons. That would be great. Yeah, I mean, that was one of the... I mean, I kind of want to go back to that video, right? So I'll bring you back to me for a moment. And I always think it's worth coming back to this video and having a look. Because it is kind of just the sort of video that we go back to. But there's a wonderful intro sequence with the original... the original Star Citizen thing. And it's always fun to kind of watch this stuff back as well, because, let's kill the volume before anything happens, there we go. It's always kind of fun to watch this stuff, because you realise just how far we've come from the original concept to this stuff. I'll turn the volume on a little bit, maybe you'll hear it, maybe you won't. And then transition. Does everyone remember this? Has everyone seen this? So this was the Kickstarter trailer all the way back in 2012. Hey Sebastian, good to see you, bud. Jotcup, I don't know if I've said hello. If I haven't, apologies. Hello. Good to see you, mate. But yeah. He needs to stop doing that. So yeah, obviously the Bengal being sold as the original. No, this isn't that one. It isn't the one with the intro. This is just the trailer section. What's really interesting is, I don't know if you've noticed, if anyone's seen the really, really bad film Battleship, where they fight, the Navy fights alien ships, you'll notice that some of the music from this, I believe, was in fact, most of the music is in Battleship, which is just weird. Which means this won't be monetized anyway, which is great, but, you know, whatever. So yeah, there's, where you're talking, Shadow Girl was talking about watching you interact with the cockpit and everything else and the switches. You'll see what they originally intended here, and then let me know whether or not you think it's going to go back to that. But yeah, we have come some way with the Bengal, right? You can just imagine from like some of these shots show you what they were intending. I remember watching this and just being blown away. This kind of like the idea of having klaxons going off in the ship and You know, everyone rushing to battle stations, lighting states, you know, being able to put a ship-wide announcement out, even without the aid of like voice servers and stuff like that. Yeah, this is just says your CAG, Commander of the Air Group, in his flight suit, but reminds you of the Wing Commander 2 ready ship animation. Yeah, very much so. It's just, and this is obviously what they were trying to sell right at the beginning. As everything coming out, you interact with it, it folds away again. And obviously none of that exists at the moment, and it's not even in the cockpit. But it is just so cool. And the idea that you would change, as you change things in your ship, your character would do that automatically. So even if you press the keyboard shortcut, your character would interact with the dial or the switch and whatever else. So yeah, so you got all these like flip out screens, and we activate stuff and the screens flip away again. It's very cool. What I really like about this, I'll just pause that and go back just a moment. I don't know if you saw there on the top here, right on the below the bridge, you can see 2 Hornets that are actually sat on the deck, on the hull, on the exterior of the ship. And I really like that idea, because that's your alert 5 fighters, your rapid response if the ship gets attacked. They get away, and you don't have to make the ship vulnerable to do that. You don't need to open up any of the exterior doors. They're just sat on the deck, ready to go, and the minute they get scrambled, they just whoosh, and off they go. I really like that as an idea. Whether that stays, we'll find out. But yeah, really cool touch. Oh, Major, me and you can have words. We're gonna throw hands, man. Looks very Liberator. You know where the door is. So Tom, it had CR in it in the full one. This is just the quick down and dirty action part of it to get people involved. This is the first thing I saw of it, and I was just like, from the moment I saw this, I was hooked. Very cool. So yeah. So of course back then they used to call it Squadron 42, because the whole idea was originally that both games were sold together. They were one package, and the idea was that you would play through the Squadron 42 timeline and game, and once you completed it, you would muster out into the verse. And the idea was that everyone's starting point would be that you've completed your service with the UEE Navy, and now you can go and be your best self out in the verse, and do whatever it is that you want. And nice idea, obviously problematic, because then it means that people are having to play through the single player, and not everyone wants to, and then you've got to, you want to catch up with friends. I think the idea there was, when initially we had the idea of this drop in, drop out, your friends being able to agent Smith into the AI around you and just help you out, it made a little bit more sense. But then they separated the 2 games out, charged independently for them, and yeah, change of plan from the top down. But not a bad little trailer to get us all hooked. I don't know how many people for whom that was the first time seeing that, but it's just clear how far the whole concept's come, and everything else that they've added. Yeah, So I don't think there are any Bengal variants, Sebastian says Dark Fox. There is what we think is a battleship based on the hull of the Bengal. And Edison has before shared some very good photos of that. And there is also actually pictures of it it's not just a photo thing, it's hang on, I'm just going to bring it up on screen, but it's in the most recent I Held the Line Squadron 42 trailer. So I don't know if you can see this when we transition, probably because I'm in the way. I don't know why that's decided to pause, so we'll go back and I'll find you the proper one. Yeah, that's it, AV. There's a stubby battleship version of this. So I'll just show you for a second where it is, and then we can. So yeah. So right there you can see it. So this here, just to the if I don't know if my mouse is working, but just to the left here, you can see a Bengal with a turret with its gun raised. That's not the proper Bengal. So you can watch it dead center bottom of the screen, just in case you can see my mouse here. Yep, so it's this bit here. Just going under the address now. So that's a battleship version, and I think there's another one kind of further up from it as well. So there's basically two of them. They've got two turrets, and they look like the same one that's on the underside of the Bengal. There's two of them on the top. So it's not so much a variant, but it looks to be using a very similar hull design, if not an identical hull design, to mimic the Bengal. So yeah. Very cool. So yeah, so we still need to see a cruiser ship to complete the fleet. Cruisers, they have also announced the battle cruisers and fleet escort, which we're 99% sure is the Pegasus. The Pegasus is a fleet escort. We don't know if that's the one that they were referring to, but if you go and look at the stretch goals on the website, which I can show you now, the stretch goals do refer to all of this from the original funding, if they're still up. I haven't checked on them actually since they changed the layout of the website because, bless them. Where are we? Funding. Yes, they are still here. That's cool. So yeah. So if you go down through these, there's lots of cool stuff in here, but it does talk about a couple of other things. So that's worth noting. I will zoom in a little bit so you get. There we go. So an additional alien race, the Kathak. That's a thing. Additional base type, the alien derelict, although I would imagine that is now going to go away. They did say that the Bengal carrier is going to be a playable ship class here. It doesn't say ownable, it says playable. And I think it does make a distinction in here on a couple of occasions. It said that, it won't. So there's the frigate, although arguably that's the Idris. An additional ship class, the escort carrier. Flyable ship class, the battle cruiser. So yeah, so there are other ships that we still don't have. I did make a video about it a couple of years ago, I think, which was ships that we were waiting for based on this. And it takes a look at the Pegasus, and it takes a look at the roles normally played by the battle cruiser and that sort of stuff. So yeah, an interesting one. Yeah. A Jane's Fighting Ship style manual, that's still promised. That's good fun. Salvage. So salvage is in. We've got that one. Facial capture. We've got that one. Because you've got face over IP now. There's some, So yeah, and a lot of this is being added. So in addition to the command and control systems we've already outlined, we're going to expand capital ship functions. We need a damage control team. So that now has happened to everyone, not just capital ships. Repair key systems. control internal bulkheads, where we've got the ability to do doors and that sort of stuff. Yeah. So yeah, what's quite nice is they then rolled that out to everything, which is kind of good fun. But yeah, this is always well worth a read. I remember that when I first saw that trailer, I then went to the website and found this. And I remember watching, some of these were completed like a day apart, like these. So they went from 29 to 30 million in a day. So they're raising like $1 million a day. And I remember I was managing the Games Workshop in Birmingham, and I remember being at home, and I cut and paste all these into a document, and printed them out, and took them to the guys I was working with, because we were all nerds, obviously working at Games Workshop, and just ran in going, "You've got to read this! You've got to read this!" And the before we opened, I booted up the work terminal and showed them this video, and yeah, I don't think they were as taken with it as I was, but obviously, you know, mad for it. But yeah, Hull C, Anvil Carrack, yeah. And then yeah, some of this stuff is like, it's interesting to see some of the stuff that's been forgotten. So the Hull C Discrete, yeah, so pre-configured hulls are primarily used for legitimate purposes. The Hull Cs have recently become the favourite for criminals who modify the ship with the advanced sensor shadow technology, quick decompress hulls, and a variety of hidden compartments without modifying the ship's body so it will appear to onlookers as everyday standard transports. Interesting, right? But yeah. There's an image of this on Discord. Is that fantastic? Let's have a look. Yeah, that's the one I thought you might show us. So let's have a look at that very quickly. I'm going to put that up. Yeah, there you go. So yeah, there appears to be, as Edison quite rightly pointed out, there appear to be two variants here. These look older than the previous ones, mainly because the other ones seem to have a very similar kind of engine pod arrangement to the Bengals. And these don't. These look to be slightly different, almost Star Trek-esque. Because I was going to use the word nacelles, right? But yeah, an interesting design. Whether they've stayed like this, we can only find out when we get to look at that stuff that's in Squadron 42, not just from a distance as a full motion video. But yeah, space does not look as green, says Macho. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so that's kind of Chris. Hey, sorry to run late, but good to see you. Good to see you, Chris. I'm glad you could make it in, my friend. And yeah, no worries for joining late. Here for a couple of hours. So we're just having a look through. We were talking about Bengal and some of the ships. We were actually having a look at the HUD, and that's what spawned the whole conversation here. Because we watched the original trailer where you watch the pilots kind of interact with more of the console as they're flying. Looking at things like when they start the engines now that was shown off at CitizenCon and smashing door panels with your hand, it looks like we're going to slowly go back that way. But obviously, that's a minor detail and a nice to have, and that's going to take a huge amount when you think the amount of cockpits they have where everything's positioned slightly differently. That's going to be a long old project. So yeah, just patience on that one. I don't think that's going to be a priority. But yes. In that Sam, I held the line video at 1820 to show the in-game pilot pressing the buttons that the pair presses might be rolled out to all ships in the future. Yeah, so exactly that. And we can always go and have a look back at that if we want to. I'll just transition again, just so that we don't end up revealing something that I didn't mean to. But yeah, so that's what it looks like in that one. And then let's have a look. Yeah, that's about right. Let's transition over. So I'll kill that one because we don't need the noise for this. But yeah, so the interactable here that you're talking about, yeah, exactly that. Quite a nice little group of settings, right? And some people are going to find that really annoying, so that's why I think we're going to keep the shortcuts and stuff. But yeah, for those that want that immersion of looking around the cockpit cockpit and interacting with the dials, especially if you're able to do that with like VR and stuff later on down the line. That's going to be massive. So yeah, I think people are going to have a lot of fun with that. And just proof that even now, between CitizenCon and now, things are in a constant state of flux. We can see there on the right-hand side, you've got the power management side of things, which is still the old triangle, and obviously they've done away with that. Now we have FTL-style power management bars. So yeah, very cool. We'll keep that up in the background, just because it's good fun to watch, right? But yeah. XDOM style crew, you don't have your own avatar, but you XCOM into each crewman you command. I don't know what that's in reference to, but yeah, I mean, I'd just be happy for them to get this in a simple form first before we go and do the advanced stuff. Striker says, I want to say that during one of more CIG videos, the devs clarified that players would be able to find and restore a down Bengal and thereby play it in that manner, but they may have changed. Yeah, so the intent for the Bengal, it sounded very much like they were going to try and do that as some sort of dynamic event, that you would be able to restore them, but it wouldn't be an ownership thing like we own our ships at the moment. So it wouldn't be something that you own and then never lose. These things would be constantly fought over and use that. So yeah, that's where they are with that, I think. But yes, you are correct. So when pirates kidnap your crewmate, you lose the crew, but they can be verted, etc. I would have that. Yeah, there's so much stuff they can do with the crew and things. I think they can, obviously, I think the idea of ships being like the end game, like owning the ships and all that sort of stuff, I don't see that as being that. I think they're going to need to move on and provide us something more meaningful, because so many people have just gone in and bought everything. And just being able to buy capital ships now and own the ones at the end, I don't think that would be massively unsatisfying and a huge letdown for everyone that's bought a ship, and I really hope it doesn't go that way. But yeah. So they've said in the past you can repair heavily damaged Bengals carriers. Yep, exactly that. Hopefully we also get capital size assault, transport, or planetary invasions. Yeah, funny enough, we talked about this a lot on Info Runners when we were talking about planetary assaults. As we've just seen with life support generated, is now looking more certain than ever that ships won't be able to sustain large numbers of people for extended periods of time. And yes, the Valkyrie is great because you've got loads of seats, you've got vehicle space, you've got all this, that, and the other. But if you are mounting that operation over the weekend, where are the beds for those people? Where are those points to log out? And if bed logging is still the thing, right? So those sorts of things might be problematic. An assault carrier, like an amphibious assault ship, I think is like something that's going to happen well down the line. There's just no need for it now whatsoever. But I don't think it's invalid, especially if orgs take to big kind of org versus org battles, and there's a section of space where there is no UEE control, so people can engage in battle org v org without the fear of constantly getting crime stat for doing what their org is doing. So yeah, here's hoping. Salutes the Polaris, absolutely. So unlawful will be turning them over to pirate orgs, or lawful to Clash, etc. Yeah, absolutely that. Did you run in the one in Sutton as well? Said Mabod. No, I didn't. I was in there. I was in a couple of times as cover, but no, I didn't run the Sutton games actually. AV says the military pirate versions of the whole CD could definitely be rather interesting. Yeah, and they've got all the time in the world to go and do that, right? But yes, 100%. There's a lot of stuff in that. You take some time, read those Kickstarter stretch goals. There's like the idea of fleet command modules that you add to your ship, like the Javelin, like the Idris. And I just, every time I hear that, I just want something. Has everyone seen Ender's Game, where he's like controlling the fleet and it's in a huge like VR projection around him? Like, how cool would that be if you could do that in Star Citizen? and you can step out of your ship and walk around your game space at home, wherever that is, with the headset on, as like the admiral on board one of these things, and then coordinate the battle, not control anything or do anything, but you can use the information you get from walking around. For me, that's like maximum nerd, but I don't know, maybe that's unnecessary. But yeah, space smells like rotten eggs, so green is correct, says Dark Matter. Thanks. I could have gone my entire life without knowing that, but thank you. The next time I die without, because I haven't put my helmet on, there's going to be an extra level of ick with that. So yeah, that's fun. I like the interactable, but I think the PvP community will not. Well, diddums, because it's not just a PvP game, so if they don't like it, why? But yeah, they'll just stick to the hotkeys, right? It's such a step up in quality, says Tom. Absolutely it is. Wiggy says, I haven't applied my Perseus to Polaris CCU yet, going to wait and see. I, too, own one of those. Not that I intend to use it. I want my Perseus, but, you know, it's such a small difference at the moment that it seemed like it was a reasonable thing to have a go at. And just have in my hangar. And if I don't need it, I sell it, and, you know, I use the money for something else. It's fine. When I did PvP in games, I used to hate animation delays. Yeah, and that's the thing, is whether or not it's a delay or not a delay. You know, I don't think it should be any slower. You know, the animation could just happen time late. But yeah, I might actually enjoy the Perseus a bit more, says Wiggy. 100%. I think the crew thing between the two is a key thing. Notorious, good evening, bud. Good to see you. Sorry, I'm catching up with chat, so I'm a little bit behind the curve. But yeah, I hope it's going well. I hope you're doing well where you are at the moment. And yeah, I just can't believe they let you have your mobile. They let you have your mobile? We weren't allowed mobiles when I was there. We had to give them up for the first until we passed ACE, or whatever it is now. Used to be ACE, Assess Command Exercise, week 6 and week 7. But yeah. Yeah. Tom Andorra says, do you think the Gatak Raylan is coming? I mean, in the same way that Christmas is coming, like it's going to be there at some point. Do I think it's soon? Probably not. You know, we know now that they are working on the RSI ships more than anything else. I think that's the end of that one. So we know they're working on RSI ships more than they're working on other stuff. We know that they are, you know, that there's an order to that. So we're going to get the Polaris, then we're going to get the Galaxy, then we're going to get the Perseus. So we know what their order is, and of course we'll still get the littler ships and stuff. But I think the Gatak Raylan is big enough that they don't necessarily want to do that just yet. Yeah. Dark Matter says, the ships are your characters and their progression will be endgame RNG with craft and salvage rare and exotic parts. The economy is the key to all, but it's all in flux right now. Yeah, I mean, there's so many other ways. So it's things like, there's so many other ways that they can take the end game than just what ships you own. So they talked a little while ago, blades, which if anyone doesn't know, blades go into a computer and they are AI controlled turrets. So you can take one of your normal turrets and then control it through a blade. And with detail levels still to be determined, there will be computers and stuff that will be able to take a number of blades and that. We don't know quite what the trade-off is with using them. But the idea is that as a solo pilot, you could blade a turret or two and have that help defend your ship. They've talked about the fact that the UEE used to build blades that were incredibly effective. They've stopped making them now for whatever reason, but there might be still some of those to find. So there'll be the upgrades that are exceptionally rare out there and found that you won't get back when you insurance claim. They will be something that you use, and if you lose it, you lose it. You know, the same thing to do through NPC crew. You know, they can develop storylines within your NPC, and I'm not talking like quest chains and side quests, but there's the way you pick them up. You know, the way you recruit NPC crew. Of course, you'll be able to go to a board somewhere and go, I need crew. Show me people who are good at engineering. Okay, ability versus cost. I want that one. meet me at my ship sort of thing. But there's also the ability to have like hyper rare encounters where maybe you can encounter someone, you can choose what to do. You can hand them over to the authorities, you can execute them on the spot, or you could recruit them into your crew. And it would be really cool to have crew like that, like just have a voice line or two, excuse me, that that shows that they remember how they were recruited. So you can be walking around the ship and you just hear them talking about it, or they say something like, I'm never going to be able to repay you, all that sort of stuff. That would be that there are other ways to do it than just feeling an achievement and progression through your ships. Of course, that's going to be one facet of it, but they could do so much more, and I'm really hoping they do to make the universe feel engaged and good fun, right? And if I'm going to get that bug in a minute, squish it. Right. So yeah, Blamsmith, good to see you, bud. Welcome in. If you want it, then have faith and believe it's coming. RSI will get a little love. Yep, 100%. I was only plastic 2 weeks basic and no smartphones in 98. Yeah, absolutely. Because smartphones weren't a thing, right? Chris says, what's your opinion on the RSI pipeline? The talk is Galaxy next left to Polaris. Yeah, I think we hit that, didn't we? I think it's problematic because refineries and construction, did I get him? No, fuck. Not in game. Do you think Apollo has a chance? I think at the moment, like, we are all up there on med ships, right? Especially when the Galaxy comes in. I don't know. I want the Apollo. The Apollo's on one of my CCU chains, my main CCU chain. It's one of my stepping off points. I really like so I've gone for the Apollo medevac, not the triage, the medevac. But yeah, we'll see. Bottom line, mate, and I know it's not what you want to hear, is I don't think just yet. But never say never. The amount of times people make predictions, right? No one knows, no matter how much they say. Everyone's made predictions. I can't think of a single streamer or content creator who's consistently hit things right. WikiLeaks have been as wrong as many times. Oh, sorry, WikiLeaks. Star Citizen Leaks, WikiLeaks. Star Citizen Leaks have been as wrong as many times as they've been right, as has everybody else. So yeah, I think it's just that. So yeah, blades are for more than just turrets. Well, yes, but I'm just using that as an example because that's the one everyone refers to. So yeah, as far as refining goes, one of the things I said, and it's in my channel. I did a CitizenCon predictions a couple of weeks ago, and one of the things I said there was I'm expecting to see a new gameplay loop. It might be hacking. Actual detail as to how that works. Watch that happen. It might be refining, given the expanse and everything else, and that would certainly make sense because of the Galaxy. But yeah, we'll see. We shall see. But yeah, sorry, just going to caress the camera a bit. It's like I'm caressing your face gently. Star Citizen ASMR. And I'm not doing that mainly because Space Tomato would do it so much better than I was, because Space Tomato's got a voice. You hear me, Space? Lovely voice. But yeah. Speaking of other streamers and content creators, if any of you like watching Twitch and you haven't checked him out yet, please, when you get a moment, go and check out a very good friend of mine, Daily Noob. He streams over on Twitch most days. Unfortunately, he had real life issues come up today, but I'm just about to stick his link in chat. But yeah. Oh, Edison, that was you. That was you playing Space Marine with him. So yeah, congrats, Edison. I'm now making you famous. Pay me. But yeah, go say hello to Noob. He's great, really positive, and plays games with everyone. So he would be more than happy to have you in a game with him and joining along on the fun. I think he's got a Star Citizen stream tomorrow, if anyone's not working. So yeah, I'm looking at the unofficial list of 324.2. Yeah, I think it's just gone into Evo Carty, hasn't it? So we'll see what is coming with it. But I think they've realised now that if you look at the 4.0, so much is going into that, and actually clearly server meshing is going back and back and back. They are still working out the kinks, still working out the bugs, and it will still be buggy when we get it. Obviously, it's Star Citizen, but that means that they've got other things going to the point where we're ready. And they're like, well, that's great because 24.2 isn't in yet, so we'll add it to 24.2. And that's no bad thing, right? Because we actually feel like we get a patch. But bearing in mind, we've had one big patch this year, which was at the beginning, and then we had a patch which was basically persistent hangers. And yes, that's changed a lot, but it still feels like for a lot of people who aren't interested in that sort of stuff, yes, they have to take part in it, but it feels like something has just changed in the game, not a massive addition for them. So hopefully we'll get something that will help them out as well. Avi says, oh, sorry, Avi, you've just did a bit off the top of the screen. Thought they confirmed it was going to be Galaxy after the Polaris, and they only needed a ship and some of the modules. It's problematic if they can add. If it's problematic, they can add the module later. Yes, very possibly. I still think that might indicate refining's coming for the expand. But it's just a guess, right? It's just my gut feeling. And my gut has known to be wrong. So, despite its size. Tira Zero says, I hope they go the hairstyle route for Endgame. So when you see someone walk by in that orange palmed mullet, you can think they earned that. I don't know how to respond to that, but yes. Tia, if I ever see you in game when it's possible and you don't have an orange palmed mullet, I won't be angry. I will be disappointed. Sorry, guys, my eyes are leaking. I'm getting used to, so this has happened. I don't know whether it's because I put a couple of negative videos out, but I feel like I'm slowly but surely morphing into Salty Mike. But yeah, so I'm getting used to glasses, and it's I'm trying to have to focus. I don't want to use them any more than I need to, but it does mean that all that focus makes them ache and water a bit. So it's not that I'm emotional. I'm not crying. I've only half a beer in. We're not there yet. Let me finish a pint and then I'll be a gibbering emotional wreck, telling you I love you all. But yeah, we're not there quite yet. Go away! Stop. Angry badgers. One of them landed on my nose when I was in the corner. They tried to land on my nose and then popped off again. Like, honestly, bastards. Okay. I'm sucking the hope in that Galaxy is not the next one. So Polaris, yes. Galaxy afterwards, Chris. I'm afraid that's announced. They've stated that a number of times now. So that is the thing that's happening at the moment. Thank you, Dell. Yeah, if you enjoy drinking and you enjoy gaming, and you are still here, then yes, a like would be very much appreciated. But of course, you don't have to. It's entirely up to you. Matthew says Apollo is getting worked on. I don't know how to manage drones, etc. Yeah, I think that's kind of part of it. Is obviously they want chips gameplay loops to be in. It's not so tough on the things like the modular ships because you just don't release those modules. But yeah, for ships that rely on it. I mean, I suppose you just don't release the drones, right? But yes, we'll see. Base building, says Mad World of Chaos. Yeah, that's likely for Galaxy. We'll have to buy a raft to buy the Expanse. Lol. Possibly. My predictions are, in fact, 100% accurate, says Wiggy. I stand corrected, sir. I do apologise. We're definitely going to see a Pico theme robotic drink dispenser soon. You saw it here first, guys. Guys, remember when that comes out, Wiggy called that one. That was all Wiggy. Nothing to do with me. I just read out the good news. So yeah, Pico themed robotic drinks dispenser. There you go. Ta-da. See? All the best news on this channel. New gameplay loop will be salt farming. No, that's an old gameplay loop. That's a very old gameplay loop. Just open chat in game. This is why when I play, I just close the in-game chat. It's like, nope, absolutely do not need to be involved in that. Raygun 972. Hello, bud. Good to see you. You don't breakdance by any chance, do you? Because that'd be cool. Oh dear. What do you think of a big surprise with the Galaxy and all the patches getting released in order to show that their process of production is efficient? Well, that's the interesting thing, right? Is that obviously ship production shouldn't have stalled. I think what was interesting, if we watch that, I mean, we can go and have a look at it now. I'll see if I can find it while we're talking. There's already videos coming out, I've noticed, which is a little bit frustrating, but there are already videos coming out about, oh, look at what they haven't delivered yet, right? And they said, and even in the video, he says it and then they slowed it down. It's like next year. And they're all going, oh, these things haven't been added yet. And it's like, but we've still got a quarter of the year to go. October, November, December, that's 3 months. It's a quarter of 12. Stop it. Give them a chance. Sure, if they don't release it by the end of December, haul them over the coals. But they also said in the video, this is not a promise. And I feel like people have forgotten what that means. It's not a promise. And don't get me wrong, I'm grumpy about the game at the minute. It's knocking me off a bit because even simple things like going into bunkers. I tried to shoot some drugs. Ugh, thanks YouTube, you just demonetized me today, and it didn't work because 2 crates out of all the ones I shot, 2 crates, and one had dropped down like the hole, and I couldn't get it even though I was throwing grenades down the hole, and one was in a wall, and that was it. So all the other ones I shot, nope, that was it, mission over. And then you take the negative rep hit. And then I did 2 kind of like exterior locations where, like, evict illegal occupants. Nope, they didn't spawn in. It didn't recognise I was there. It recognised when I flew away because it killed my rep, and I failed the mission. So yeah, so like I get it. I'm angry, but you know, give them a chance. They said that it wasn't promised. So yeah, woosah. But yeah, obviously I can't kind of do this at the moment because it's too far down the list, and I don't want to lose my chain of thought. But you know, we've got the Fat Fury coming. There's still a Crusader Industries starter ship that is coming. There's the Legionnaire that's supposed to be coming, which is why I think hacking might be a thing at some point. That's not to say that I think the Legionnaire will be able to do its thing from the moment it comes into the game, because ship-to-ship boarding, obviously, at the moment we don't have that. But the Legionnaire was one of the ships in there, everything coming by the end of 2024. So, you know, and there's a couple of other bits and pieces in there. The Polaris, obviously, being one of them. So yeah, there's a few bits and pieces in there. Space Cow, what was that? I don't even want to read that. Wiggy one says, Space Cow Glint will be a thing, please no. Zeus looks good. Yeah, so I know there's some skins for it, but just the ship itself looks incredible. They've done a really good one. 324.2 is built on 4.0 netcode. Yeah, to a point. Absolutely. And hopefully it gets better. Never go full salty B-bag. That words to live by. Words to live by. You have a long ways to go. Hopefully that's in reference to turning into that other streamer socially. I'm hoping. If so, bless you. If not, curse you, sir. Striker says, I swear if you become Slightly Mike, I'm leaving the Discord. Mate, if I become Slightly Mike, I'm leaving the Discord. Because that's Slightly Mike. That's his bag, not mine. What is up with the Misk Fortune, the salvage ship in 222.4.2? Yeah, so if people haven't heard this rumour, it looks like the Misk Fortune, when they did the data mine on it, it looks like it has a salvage arm attached to it within its game files. So then again, having said that, they are renowned now for putting stuff in the game files that never comes about. So I don't bother. Like, it's great if it is. There's obviously a gap for it in the market because we have the small salvage, which is the Vulture. We have the big salvage, which is the Reclaimer. There's space. There's also room for competitors, arguably, in that market. So there's definitely a medium somewhere. And, you know, Misk being industrial, not beyond the realms of possibility. But whether that's what it is, you know, what was the trash van we all got debated with? I say we all, not everyone, but what was the trash van that they tried to debate the community with? That was quite funny watching that play out. CIG are beginning to play with us in that regard. So yeah. Oh, you're French Caribbean enjoying good drinks too, says Raygun. Raygun. Oh well, mate, I'm pleased you could join us, and also, what a wonderful part of the world to come from. A little bit jealous. So yeah. Bullshit, they want the gameplay in, says Blounsmith. They've been half-assing the ship gameplay for new ships since they said that. Yeah, so I mean, like, if you look at what they've had in, it's not all been there. You know, you've got like the parts of it we've had salvage partially in because we haven't been able to do the component stuff so much. We haven't been able to do the siphoning off of fuel and things like that. But there's at least been something to do with it. You know, the reclaimer was in for how long before it was actually useful? So yeah, I think they're trying to stick to that. You know, we didn't see the Expanse. The Expanse didn't go straight to flyable. The Legionnaire didn't go straight to flyable. So I think they're trying to, but of course, you know, the money must flow as well. So it might not just be that case. I have a leak global chat which is persistent and region wide, says Dark Matter. That's awful. I can't imagine anything worse. Sam Murray, welcome. Good to see you, bud. You snuck in there. I didn't see your icon, but welcome. So yeah. So Monster AV says, but for some people next year in January, not they have to wait an actual year. Yeah, that's weird. When does a year not mean a year? I'm not buying into that. But yeah, it was their intention. Yeah, not a guarantee. 100%. Absolutely. Good. I don't want to wait for our lives to be over. Yeah, I know I sung that last time. Like that was your freebie. Absolutely not anymore. No singing. Nobody needs that. Nobody needs that. So yeah. It sort of said the Legionnaire got delayed because of hacking. Yeah, very, very likely. Because that's his whole purpose, right? So yeah, I don't see why it would. Blamsmith just got to the Space Cloud Glint bit. Nice. Or I've just got to Blamsmith's Space Cloud Glint, more to the point. But yeah, supposedly they found info that was a salvage ship, but the lack of actual info, it's kind of iffy. Yeah, and I mean, we found all that info about whatever the garbage truck was, and that was that. But yeah. Misfortune. Yeah. Yeah. You're not wrong, AV. Misfortune. You're not wrong. I mean, then again, it wouldn't put them past them to actually call something that and then go, oh, but yes, 100%. A medium large size salvager might get me to melt my reclaimer. You shut your filthy mouth. The reclaimer is love. The reclaimer is life. How very dare you? M Beats. Right. Really good question from M Beats. First off, welcome to the stream, bud. Sorry it took me a while. I'm trying to catch up with chat. I'm getting there, I promise. It's got nothing to do with the alcohol. I got answers. Do you know what I mean? They might not be the right ones, but I have answers. I would really like, please, people to have some advice, because I think it's worth multiple people answering this question. M Beats, what I would say, buddy, is give it a month and a half, right? In November, they do something called the Intergalactic Aerospace Expo, which is an in-game event, right? It's just a posh way of saying an in-game event. And what happens is, every 2 days they have a new manufacturer on, and that manufacturers, if that manufacturer has ships that are available to fly, 99% of them you can just rent them for free. You just go to the expo hall, they're all on display, you can go inside them, have a look around, you can rent them. It's also a free fly, so you don't need the game. You just download it, have a play. Okay, if you can put up with the game in that state, and I'll explain what I mean in a minute, then it might be worth having a go. And what I mean by in that state is, when there's a free fly, the servers are always being stressed. So it's the game is at a less quality during those free flies than it is outside of those times. So if you're in there and you're like, I can't deal with this, then leave it. if you get in there and you're like, I'm actually quite enjoying this, then it might be for you. But please, please, please just bear in mind what I say to everyone. It's not ready. It's not going to be ready for years. Things will be broken, they'll get fixed, and they'll break again. It is an incomplete project. However, if you want to stick around when we get to IAE, more than happy to have you on board. You can come and join with us. We'll show you the ropes. You can get involved in some of the group stuff. It's entirely up to you. But there's a Discord link down below. Pop in, have a chat with us. You can watch us fly, all that sort of stuff. But yes, you know, whatever you... I'm more than happy to help new people out. What I don't want to have happen is I don't want people to buy into something they're not happy with. And I'm really uncomfortable advising people what to do with their money, which is why I said try it, because then you know for sure. You're not just taking it on someone else's say-so. But I'm sure as well in the comments, and I'll read a couple of them out in a second, there are some great bits of advice, because this is the right community to be asking that in. We are realistic about the game. I'm not always positive about it. I understand what they're doing, so I know why it's slow. I understand all that stuff. But at the same time, it's all right to be frustrated about it. So, yeah. So Chris says, it's personally very hard to answer that question fairly today due to the state of the servers right now. Yeah, so the servers aren't in a great place. 0000 says, I don't play the game, I have questions based on things I've read over the years. Is this actually games that has missions, goals, PvP, combat, etc.? Or is this solely a world that you exist in? Whew. That's a long old question. So short answer, yes. There are missions, there are things that you can do. You can earn rep, you can earn credits, you can buy or rent in-game ships. However, none of that is permanent right now. So there is a chance every time we get a patch that you get something called a persistence wipe. It might just be money. It might just be the ships that you've bought with in-game money. They never wipe the real ones, obviously. But if you've earned up to a ship in-game, your rep might get wiped depending on what they're trying to achieve with the latest patch. So yes, there is stuff to do. There's absolutely stuff to get involved in. There's big dynamic events. Siege of Origin is one that is a personal favourite of the community. So yes, there's loads of stuff to do. But yes, as Blamsmith's got it spot on, have a high tolerance for bugs and jank, because this game is jank right now. So yeah. Wiggy1 says, MBeats, if you do jump into the game, don't forget that Star Citizen is a test environment, nothing more, until release, whenever that will be. Yes, I think that's the other thing, is that when you come in to the game, is understanding that everything will change. Everything will change. The loadout on your ship, the amount of components your ships have, its weapon loadout, and you can switch these things up, but like the amount of hard points that you can attach weapons to, all that stuff will change. Expect it to. If it doesn't, great. Perfect. But expect it to change, and then you won't be disappointed when it does. Especially if it's a change that you don't like. But yeah. Chris says, I can be overly optimistic and get people into the game, and when they start hitting the glitches, I feel like I've deceived them if they've had a bad experience for the first few hours. Yeah, 100%. And I'd love to have people, you know, if you want to be shown around, that's exactly why I started this channel. You know, I want it to be people that are established to be welcome here, but people can come in and be shown around. And I always say, one of my favourite things to do in Star Citizen is show new people the game and have them on voice comms when you do it. And just, because we are so quick to kind of like lose that awe of the game and what they're achieving and how far they've come already. Because you hit bug after bug and it makes you annoyed and blah, 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 blah. Then you get someone new into the game and you hear the wonder in your voice and you hear all the thing in their voice and you hear all the things that they're talking about that they find really cool. And you go, oh yeah, I remember the first time I saw that. I remember the first time I went into a big ship and all this sort of stuff. And, you know, that's really kind of refreshing, I think, for me as a player to hear that. And it keeps me kind of refreshed and enthusiastic about the project. So if people want to do that, then please, by all means. And if it's not me, there are other people in the Discord who'd be more than happy to show you around, lend you their ships, show you what to do. You can come shoot stuff with us, you can come fly with us, or whatever you fancy. And whenever it works. I have a standing slot every Friday, something called Friday Night Ops. You are more than welcome to join if you so wish. Every Friday, 9 o'clock UK time, and then every Sunday, 9 o'clock UK time. Obviously, this stream happens as well. But yeah, you'd be more than welcome to come. We tend to play for a good few hours, so if you rock up late, it doesn't matter. There's no organisation. People do whatever the hell they want to, but we tend to organise well as a group. It's nothing formal. So if you want to, that's great. Good. And now the state of the servers is probably one of the worst. 318 is calling you a liar there, Chris. But yes, possibly. But yeah, I think at the moment the servers have been generally degrading, mainly because, of course, they've been adding things. So it used to be that there was very little in the verse, and then we had mining rocks, and then we had hand mining rocks, and then we had medium mining rocks, and then they started adding hulls, and then we got persistence, and then everything stuck, and then the bunkers were filling up with stuff. And the problem is the servers are getting to capacity, and they've made a number of optimizations that make the servers run better, but there just isn't the headroom anymore, which is why server meshing is so important. The game just can't exist without it, not in the form that they've talked about. So yeah, they've got some work to do. But the servers are going to go that way, and then we're going to get server meshing in, and that's going to be an absolute pot mess, because of course it's going to be a pot mess, because no one's done server meshing like this before. I don't care what anyone says, there isn't a game that is doing it like this. Just doesn't exist right now. They may well copy it, and I know there are a couple of games in the works trying to do server meshing, but it hasn't been achieved yet, not like this. So yeah, they've got some work to do. It's going to come in as a mess, and then all of a sudden it'll start to get better, and it'll be great for everyone. So yeah, if that sounds like copium, yes. So yeah, it's also not a yes or no question. It could be that you like the concept but not happy with the current gameplay. Nothing wrong holding off in that case or other cases. Yeah, exactly that. Strikers hit the nail on the head. Take your time. This game is not going anywhere. There's no rush to get into it. You're not missing out. The only thing, obviously, that might change is game price might go up somewhat. But, that's a personal thing. That might be the only thing of any material that changes. The good news is you don't need to buy any of the ships other than what comes in your starter package. You absolutely do not need to whatsoever. They're almost all going to be earnable in-game. Don't sweat it. You don't need to pour cash into this. So yeah, if you want to show people the game, consider becoming a game guide on Spectrum, says Dark Matter. I was for a while, and then I kind of stopped, just because I figured it started to feel like a job. But yeah, I was for a little while, and used to try and get people over to the Discord so I can talk to them, because I used to find it easier like this to explain it rather than typing it. But some people didn't like that, and I get why you wouldn't. Yeah, I tried to learn Eve and gave up, says 00. I'm never more lost in my life than trying Eve. 100%. And this game is going to be like that, potentially, in the future, because it's going to be so overwhelming, right? Your mining isn't run up to something and right-click or hold F until it's done. Everything you want to do in the game is going to be a skill. So, even if you don't get into it now, like just keeping an eye on things, how things are ticking over, looking videos of the game loops, you will be streets ahead. Because of course at the moment we've got next to nothing, or we had next to nothing in the game. As things are being added now, you're going to start to learn it all. So it's going to be, added at a pace that I think people will find a lot easier to understand and to stomach. So yeah. 318 sits in this part of my brain that says "do not open," says Chris. 100%. Yeah. The desync we've had in the past and 30Ks every 30 minutes was far worse than we have now. Yeah, so we used to have things where the servers would stop responding and kick us out. That's gone now, so that's good news. The servers do recover, which is it happened to me today, which was cool. Although it still bugged a couple of things, but it's a lot better than it was. I got it at the very start of 3.18, says Shadow Girl, and that was the smoothest gameplay I've ever seen in a game. It was one of the lucky things that was on the very first 3.18 release day. Yeah, and then it all went to someone threw a match in, and it all went to. But yes, it's too easy to forget how far we've actually come since Blansmith. It is, it is. I've been thinking today during my gameplay about another video that I want to do. It's probably going to be an in-depth one. Possibly might be a little bit longer, almost like a documentary style. But yeah, I might give that a go. If that sounds like it might be interesting, let me know. If it sounds like it might be boring as hell, let me know. I'd be interested to know what you guys want next. So yeah. So used to give away. I mean, well, they're giving away like the pirate coin right now, aren't they, for Pirate Week? So there is a thing. They are still giving stuff away from time to time. So that's still happening. The time this game comes out fully working condition, my great grandchildren will playing, says Gazer Gaming. Yeah. Yeah, there's it's gonna be a while. I mean I've said for some time now, since basically lockdown and all that madness was happening, which we don't talk about. I've been saying since then, anyone that thinks it's coming out in 2020 something is fooling themselves. This game isn't coming out this decade. Full stop. The end. It's just not. Nothing like. And if they do put it out, it's because they've gone, oh well, this is like the release version. This is the beta version, and it'll be missing a whole bunch of stuff that we've all been expecting. So that's the only way that will happen. So yeah. Just feel like we used to get more meaningful stuff. Yeah, 100%, Blab. 100%. I really liked the whole F7A upgrade from the Mark 1 to the Mark 2, right up until they binned the Mark 1. And then it was like, boo. But yes, other than that, like I thought that was quite good fun. I also quite like the golden ticket idea. I just think they could do that with a whole bunch of ships. Like, not the platinum one, not the free one, although they could do that too, right? That would be really cool to make them exceptionally rare. But you get a platinum ticket, you get a free ship. Like, even if that was like the under, $150 range, and it was one of the starter profession ships, and it wasn't giftable or whatever, then it would still be an incredibly cool thing to have for people to do. Yeah. Edison, I'm not reading that out. I just threw up in my mouth a little bit reading that. That's just it. Yeah. So sorry, I've lost my place in the list. Bear with me. Insert list music here. The doo, doo, doo. I'm going to be that Captain the Squadron 42 trailer talking to the kids who join the game years from now, giving them advice on their piloting license while they serve aboard my ship. Cool. So yeah. $300 for a fighter though, lol. Yeah, there's lots of cost, and obviously, when you get to the alien ones, it's even worse because you pay the alien tax. But golden tickets could be like schematics for craftable items and parts, etc., like paints and other rare things. Yeah, paints, right? There's loads of stuff that they could put into the game that make this stuff fun. Even if it was like you get a ship till the next wipe. Like they could do things that all of a sudden people would go out and do the looting and stuff, and there'd be a reason to play, and that would be quite good fun. Yeah, mix it up, normal PvP. Yeah, just random drop chance, right? Because at the moment there's very little loot matters very little in the game, other than the couple of thousand UEC you'll save yourselves by picking up all your armor and your weapons and your ammo. when you consider how quickly you can earn, especially during like the dynamic events and doing the Ghost Hollow credit download mission and all that sort of stuff, it's so easy to just keep ahead of all those costs. There's not a lot in there of stuff that you can loot. There used to be the advocacy badges, which I picked up a couple, but I think they got killed in a wipe. And I don't know if that was intentional or not. But there's like the UEE participate or the UEE service medals that you can find from the derelict outposts. There's the artifact stuff, although they don't do anything. But you know, they can certainly work more on cool things that we can find and reasons to loot. Because at the moment it does feel a little bit kind of an empty process. At least the alien ones can be CCU'd to cut the cost. The F8 is crazy. Ended up using a token and got my F7A for 40, so couldn't justify the F8. Yeah, and the other thing is you know, people remember that the F8 you can get it through Squadron 42, so you get the right to buy it in game. So you know, and that's at release. That's not you lose that through persistence. So once you've earned that, and you can buy it, and it's yours. So you know, I think that's what I've waited to do. I didn't buy myself an F8 when they were out. It just I couldn't justify it for a fighter. And I feel with the current state of the flying and master modes, I'd feel a little bit gutted that I had that much money in my hangar doing nothing, and being useless and not being a great fly either. So yeah, since they've broken progression through buying ships, I'd like to see almost all components and high-end gear behind rep walls, like military grade equipment, only to be available from the military. Yeah, and, you know, like the ability to go places, like the further out you go, to be linked to that as well. So deep space explorers will be people who, by definition, have been around longer in the game. That would be really cool. Like, it doesn't just need to be buy the best in slot through rep, because now we're playing World of Warcraft. But yeah, I know exactly where you're coming from, Blam. You know, exactly that. That there's so much stuff they can do for the progression that makes it more than just how many ships you own. That'll be a part of it, obviously, but it needs to be more than that. Dark matter. Well, the loot tables can include blueprints and rare items that you collect. It gives you skills that help you improve your economic value. That's how sorry, SWG. Oh, Star Wars Galaxies. Yeah, I mean, so I think that might be the way science goes. So you know, let's say you're crafting something and you need materials of a certain tier, of a certain quality to go in. Science could give you some sort of catalyst or whatever you want to call it that allows you for a number of uses to use things of a lower quality count as the higher quality. So let's say you've got like top tier, middle tier, and low tier materials. You need top tier, but for two crafts, you can use middle tier quality materials and still craft the same thing. So they could do all sorts of ways with science of doing some cool kind of making it useful and being able to find that stuff. And yeah, absolutely. I still want the whole data running thing that I talked about in a video a long time ago. I still think it's one of the most impressive things they could do with this game. But we'll see. We'll see. Maybe at CitizenCon I can corner a game dev and browbeat them until they agree with me. Will the F8C you get through Squadron 42 have LTA? No, you'll buy it in game, but I'm not entirely sure LTI is all it's cracked up to be. I think when we get insurance, it's going to be different tiers. I don't think LTI is going to be top tier. It's going to be lifetime insurance, but it's not going to be the best insurance that gets you everything back as exactly as you did it in the fastest possible time, right to your door, blah, blah, blah. I don't think LTI is going to be that. And I've got nothing to back that up. Like, that's just a feeling. But knowing that things like insurance and like maintenance and that, they're all supposed to drain money away from players to keep it a vibrant economy. Yeah. So that's the shops have way too many weapons, armor in them, limit what we bought. So yeah, Quanta will hopefully do that. And I might have a look at Quanta again in a later video, because there's a lot of people joined since 2019 and the follow-up video in 2020. There's a lot of people joined since then who won't know what Quanta is or won't fully understand what it does, and it's impressive thing. Yeah, that's it, Avi. We've got no information on how insurance is going to work. Nothing at all. I have an F8 in buybacks, says Wiggy. I think I bought it back twice now. Can't decide. First world issues. Well, I mean, that's a nice dilemma to have, right? There's nothing wrong with that. That's not a bad place to be. Premium items required, but you can have a mixture of composite that's made from cheaper. Yeah, exactly that. I think there's a lot of things that can be done with it. So yeah, LTI is peace of mind, and TIG is exploited brilliantly. Says Social Confused. Wiggy says LTI will only be useful if you want to show it loads of ship in your hangar. Blanster says I'd like to see insurance only cover default components too. Monstrover says LTI is good if you have a big fleet that isn't used regularly. It's for the people who own all the capitals and only get to play a couple of weekends a month. We need a reason to trade with other players, says Blansmith. Yeah, I think that's the interesting thing, right? Is you look at. I think that's coming. What we've got to remember is at the moment is Stanton is a microcosm of Star Citizen. And what I mean by that is that everything we'd expect in the full game needs to exist in one system as it comes in. You know, it needs to be able to supply us all of the minerals. It needs to be able to supply us all of the weapons, all of the missiles, all of the components. As the game gets bigger, space-wise, and, you know, we get more systems added, there's no reason why some systems don't, you know, why many systems don't generate any of a resource that we need to build missiles or whatever in that space, which then gives you that opportunity to do the trade stuff. So I think a lot of that will happen. Yeah. I actually covered the economy and the community post as Dark Matter. Dark, if you want to, dude, link it in chat if you've got a link, so people can have a read. Wiggy says, I want scooters to be a reality, second-hand ships that you have to repair. Yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of directions that they can take. I think one of the problems they're going to encounter is people who own ships trading them out for insurance. So you give your ship to a friend, you claim it, and they then repair it, and then add it to their own hangars. And effectively, what you're doing is you're selling one of insert ship name here, and then giving multiple to many people. So I have a feeling that you might be able to chop shop or get them for parts. I don't know if full-time ownership is going to be a thing, but I could be wrong. Salvage is going to be a thing to some extent. No clue how much, but if you want to have, if you have to for the Vanguard, then in theory it would apply to the other ships. But yeah, insurance for to be determined. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, but there's loads of different things in progression that can make things feel meaningful and things to aspire and play to. You know, obviously things like they're talking about the potential to build in space, i.e., stations or asteroid bases or a mix of the above. So that'll be something you'd have to work toward with your org, right? Because that's not going to be something you can do straight away. And we've seen in other games like Eve and that there are certain ships and stuff that you can own that you can't do without the support of an org. You know, or if you do, you're going to lose it very, very quickly. And you know, that a la Bengal, a la Pegasus, potentially, you know, all those really big ships. So yeah, we'll see. There's just, like I say, there's the potential here. At the moment, it feels like a very detailed space sim with a very generic mission system that anyone could have come up with attached to it. And I know that's because it's early on, and we've seen that they're adjusting the early on. Jesus Christ, I'm saying that about a game that's been in development for a decade. But yes, you know, and then you've got, you know, the mission systems being adjusted for server meshing and everything else, so it works for the replication layer and blah 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 blah. Great. Yeah, I think there's more ways that they can make the mission system feel meaningful. I like the idea of chains of missions where you can start it and then hand it over. You know, so you go into a battle and they're like, now we've got this we can salvage it, and you can then post it for other people to pick it up. So you're like, well, I don't do salvage. I'm not interested in this. And then they come along and do that. Or, you're chasing down some pirates, and it turns out you've got to go and attack a pirate base on the ground. But, like, FPS combat bores the hell out of you. So you can get someone else to do that and then hand the mission chain back to you, or take part of that mission. And then when they complete it, your mission advances as well. There's just so many things they can do with it at the moment. It's so incredibly basic. Go here, kill this many of this thing, and then come back. Not even come back, just kill this many of this thing, and it's done. And it's, I think it's one of the most lackluster parts of Star Citizen right now. Yeah. So yeah, Dark Matter says, it's a rough prediction, but because everything should exist to be functional and the Star system has basic resource economy, Star systems with better resources will be why you set up shop. Yeah, 100%. And then what you have there potentially is the systems with better resources. Well, I mean, there's ways to do it, right? You have the systems with the resources that are required to build stuff, the common resources. And these are going to be more UEE patrolled, more advocacy patrolled, those sorts of things. But then, like, the really high-end, rare, like Quantanium and, Hadanite and all that sort of stuff, that will be out in the middle of, forgive my language, buttfuck nowhere. And it's a risk to get there. And it's that risk versus reward stuff, right? Hull D's, Hull C, Hull E's are not going to be running Quantanium, because they'll have to wait there forever to get enough to fill up a ship with that. They're going to be moving much lower quality materials, much lower price materials, and where their money will come from will be the huge amount of profit they make from selling, only making, 50 UEC on every box. But you've got however many thousand SCU on board, so now you're making big bucks, right? It'll be that sort of stuff. And then, obviously, that then leaves the realm for, well, why would I ever take a Avenger? Well, because you can fit incredibly high value stuff in the back of an Avenger that is very low space taking. So same sort of thing, right? Yeah, so there's loads of stuff that they can balance out there. Sorry about that. Just had to... Clearly, not enough beer being imbibed. Oh, sorry, Doc. It might be that you can't post links in here. Hang on, I'll see if I can... I can't even see the I can't see the link. It's not even showing me the link, so sorry about that. Because normally it'll give me the link and then it'll ask me whether or not I want to post it. But yeah, sorry. I don't know why it's doing that. If you want to stick it in the Discord, mate, I can link it. If you're in there. If you're not, it's fine. But I can send me a message on Discord and I'll post it so people can have a read of what you were talking about. YouTube chat doesn't seem to like us posting links unless you're the channel or a mod. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, try again. Don't use Discord. Yeah, no worries, mate. No worries at all. So yeah, that's that. Oh, my eyes. Good lord. I might have to put my glasses on for the last bit because I'm starting to go really struggling to see what's going on. But yeah, so there's been a few things, to go on this week that we've had to talk about, but this is unfortunately now going to be the content drought until we see a little bit more of 24.2, a little bit more of the lead up to CitizenCon. Obviously, when they post the timetable, that's going to cause a bit of rah. And I will be going up. I've just picked up a GoPro 12 and the whole streaming kit thing, or the whole recording kit. It's got a handle thing that I can carry it around on. It's got light, it's got microphone, it's got all that good stuff. So yeah, I'll be taking that up and be doing kind of a video diary-esque thing. Rather than trying to do it as news, I'll be doing some sort of a video diary. So hopefully people will enjoy that. That probably won't be up to the weekend after CitizenCon, because, as I've said before, the priority for going to CitizenCon is meeting members of the community. Dell, Edison, Can, John Goodwin, there's a whole bunch of us going. We're all going to meet up. We're going to meet up with the info runners and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, so it's going to be good fun to catch up with people. And then, you know, we're doing some stuff in the week afterwards, because Dell's coming all the way across in the US. So we're going to go and concentrate on the social aspect. So the news, by that point, a little bit pointless because everyone will have watched it, and if they haven't, they'll have watched all the catch-up stuff. So yeah, a slightly different take on it, hopefully, including possibly some of the drinking. Early in the evening, you don't want to see me drinking late in the evening. That's not a pretty sight. But yeah, that'll be good fun. Content drought, aka when people start complaining, says Dark Matter. Yeah, it is a little bit like that, mate. You know, and again, I don't think that that's necessarily unfair. I think it is what it is. But yeah, it's that. I mean, there is nothing real. Speculation takes over when we always overestimate and disappoint ourselves. Yeah, I know I'm kind of being unfair with this, but I saw someone put up a video up, and I can't remember who it was, so I'm not calling them out. But it was CitizenCon expectations, and I specifically didn't use expectations in my video. I'm not expecting much. I have predictions, I have hopes, I have, you know, what I'd like to see. But the problem with expectations is the minute they're not met, you feel let down. And I'm not saying that that's what that person was going for. It was probably just that was the word they chose without really thinking about it like that. But, you know, we've seen time and again in this, you know, in the wider Star Citizen community, that people will hype themselves up about something, get really upset when it's not precisely what they wanted, and then drip all over the forums and whinge about it. And you know, people just need to be a little bit more, you know. So, yeah. Interesting, Blamsmith. Not sure if you've discussed that. But ship components have different damage resistances in 24.2 now. Not aware of that, but I'm going to guess, before you say anything, that the resistances have gone up, not down. Is that about right? Because obviously now it's going to be easy to kill ships if it's easy to knock out their power plants within the first 5 seconds of combat. And we saw some of that in Arena Commander. You know, we saw big ships getting neutralized very, very quickly, which has put the wind up people because, you know, they then talked about, oh, that can happen to everyone. But, of course, now, and this isn't happening in Arena Commander at the moment to my knowledge, you can repair stuff from 0 health. It won't go back to 100. You'll still have to go somewhere or swap it out to get it repaired fully, but you'll at least not be dead in the water with it. So, yeah. I watched that too, and it was low effort content, says Don't Matter. Yeah, it's you know, I did my predictions video, and you know, it is kind of low hanging fruit, right? And I know you weren't talking about that, but it is low hanging fruit. That's what it is. But it's also that there's like a little bit of a risk, right? I don't mind being wrong. I can admit that when I screw up. Often it happens after I've gotten angry about something and I have to come back and apologize to someone. But you know, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and it's fine because I'm not a dev. I don't know what's going on there. I can only talk about half is my life experience kind of telling me which way things are going to go, and the other half is the way I think it should go as a good business decision, and it seems common sense to me, so I'll say it. But there is no fun in being constantly wrong as a content creator because you damage your credibility. And that is just those videos are just one big opportunity to be wrong about stuff. So there is always a little bit of trepidation of putting stuff out there. I mean, I don't let it stop me, and if I'm thinking it, I put it in the video. So it's not like, oh, that's a little bit too risky. I won't mention that to anyone, and maybe if it happens, I'll talk about it afterwards. You know, when they first started selling tickets, my live stream, and you may have been there, you may not have been, But my live stream, I said I thought they were going to have some of the stars there. You know, that wasn't because I know Board Gamer said it later on, but the minute that news came out about the gala and the autograph memorabilia, which was the minute those tickets went on sale, we were having that conversation. I've been saying that since that happened. It's quite risky to say stuff like that as a content creator, I think, sometimes. So yeah, it's an interesting one. Yeah, so sometimes it feels like low-hanging fruit, but also sometimes you're really worried putting that stuff out because it's like, people are not going to like it and they're going to call me rubbish and nobody loves me. Ruben, good evening, bud. Haven't seen your name before, so if you've been in and lurking, good to see you. If not, then welcome in. Does this get you excited for 224.2? Flew a Buccaneer today, 100 kilometers above ArcCorp. Nav mode, max boost, and could not fly faster than 439 meters per second because atmospheric friction has a greater range of effect. Interesting. So yeah, if this is the input of like the atmospheric flight model and stuff, then yes, 100%. Ships need to act differently in atmosphere to what they do in space. And obviously things like, you know, fighters like the Avenger, which is very much plane shaped, the Hercules, you know, most of the fighters like the Hornet and the F8 and all that sort of stuff, the differences will be minimal. But for stuff like the Caterpillar, which is just a flying brick strapped to a jet engine, those things should be trouble to fly in atmosphere. You know, it should be challenging. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that atmospheric flight model. I used to fly a lot in armor, jets in armor, in support of other players, and yeah, always felt this sense of achievement putting them on the deck. Especially if you were injured, it felt like a constant fight to keep that thing in the air. Or sorry, if the plane was injured, wounded, damaged. Oh my god, my brain. But yes. So yeah, that is quite exciting. Thank you for letting me know that. That's an interesting development, and I hope that's going to be the case. I think I've heard that boosts are getting nerfed a little. So they're reducing the speed again. So that's interesting. Dark Matter says item decay is needed. Yeah, Dark, I'm glad you brought that up. I think there needs to be two types of kind of health, if you like, for a component. One side of it needs to be its health in terms of damage, and one of them needs to be its health in terms of wear and tear. Like, you know, you can have an exceptionally well-maintained power plant, but if you've been flying on it for 6 months, it's just going to start giving up the ghost, right? Whereas you can have a 2-week-old power plant, but if you've not been paying it attention, you've not been repairing it that much, you've been ragging the hell out of it, that should be less reliable as time goes on than the one that's been lovingly kind of fussed over by the engineer and that sort of stuff. So yeah, and that should be different to rounds coming through the hull and hitting it. So yeah, absolutely. Wear and tear 100% needs to be a thing. So yeah. I will say I rather hope this is the last year we have to go down the road to Pyro. It was already loosely ready for Evo PTU stuff. Yeah, 100%. I don't think for a second that the delay has anything to do with Pyro in and of itself. It's obviously server meshing. I think that's not going to become as a surprise to anyone. But yes, I was going to grab, and then I completely forgot about it. I was going to grab my program from CitizenCon 2019, which has in it, in the final pages, it has a public safety warning about flying to Pyro. So Pyro has been mentioned in one shape or another for the last, including this October, 5 CitizenCons. It just needs to be in now. And like I said in that video, I don't want another CitizenCon about Pyro. Enough. Wouter, good to see you, my friend. Welcome in. Yeah. Think of the time you need to get to A to B, says Ruben, and thanks for the warm welcome. So you are very welcome. I've just realised I've assumed. But yes, you are very welcome, mate. Good to have you. But yeah, just item use, says Dark Matter. Yeah, 100%. 100%. Just general wear and tear. And, you know, at how much it gets, or being neglected. Like having a utility mount that you don't use for 6 months and then you suddenly come to use it, that might be unreliable too. That'd be quite cool. And I think that links to something that Ruben was talking about, which is the atmospheric flight. And I think, especially for larger ships, you look at ships like the Reclaimer, the Polaris, there might be a cost to going in and out of atmosphere where doing so causes them, ships like the Kraken that don't look like they're supposed to be able to go through the atmosphere, and yet there's pictures of them, at least in the concept art, on a planet. Those ships might suffer more than shuttles and stuff, because all of a sudden, then shuttles become useful moving people around when you don't have to land. And that too, that general wear and tear of atmospheric transition might be another interesting way of introducing that wear and tear on ships. Yeah. Power plant randomly explodes. First time ship powers on, says AV. Oh yes, you two fly Drake. Nice. Yeah. Darkman says basic item decay is based on the materials used to create the item. Yeah, so there's that. Yeah, I'm not sold on the whole being able to craft everything. I don't like that as a concept. And I know that's the way they said they were going to go, and maybe I just need to suck it up and just deal with it. But I don't like that as as a concept. And yeah, Star Citizen's in the chat. Star Citizen, when you releasing 4.0? Good lord. No, kidding, man. Welcome in. Good to have you. You're famous. Loads of people in. All talking about you. So yeah. Squadron 42 is 2042. Fourth month, second day. Don't even joke. Don't even joke. Road to Pyro Year 6. We swear it's coming this time, so socially confused. Please don't. I can't deal with it. Ruben says, read a CIG dev comment today about 0.2 patch, 40 gigabytes, saying it's a reduced 4.0 build, so they're still aiming at the high goal. Yeah, we talked about that before, but there seems to be so much content that's getting fixed while they're still faffing with server meshing that it looks like it's being brought forward to lessen like the absolute storm that's going to hit when 4.0 happens. I'm expecting a storm in terms of bugs and functionality, and that way, if it doesn't happen, happy days. But I think if people expect 4.0 to land and be perfect, and it just works seamlessly without them having to fix some stuff, I think people are being a little bit optimistic. Don't think we'll craft power plants and shields and so, but we may be able to craft the subcomponents to go into those parts, possibly. Sun Civilian says Dark Matter. Yes, that's Star Citizen only gets called that on the weekend when no one's looking. With crafting, I'm kind of iffy, says AV. I tend to lean crafting on basic stuff and then assemble the more complicated stuff. Like, I don't think we should assemble a server blade in some random barn. Yes, 100%. But putting together pre-assembled microchips, computer parts in a barn is fine. Yeah, being able to change out the bolt on a rifle or capacitors or whatever, or those sorts of things, absolutely. And they kind of indicated that very basic stuff was coming, because one of the things they kept mentioning when they talked about persistence is the idea of being able to crash land, craft yourself a basic shelter and a fire, and being able to keep yourself alive, and then returning to that location once you've been rescued, like 4 or 5 months later, and seeing the ruins of your little, seeing the wreckage of your little shelter still there. So yeah, I think survival crafting will certainly be a thing. Socially confused, as I said, 4.0 to be brutal, but let's get pain over with. Yes. Yeah, it's like ripping the band-aid off now. It's like, just do it. Just do it. It's like waiting for the tape to be ripped, and they're not doing it. Just do it. The waiting's almost as painful, but yeah. Wojtek says, if Pyro 4 is 40 gigs, how much disk space will we need if they have 4 more systems? So the download obviously won't just add on top. It will often replace data, so I genuinely don't know. But yeah, it's a good question. It's going to be a lot more, right? And it's going to keep adding. Yeah. Probably it'll probably end up being having the record for the biggest game install ever. Um, even eclipsing at some point. I would imagine Microsoft X, the flight sim and stuff. So yeah, it's gonna be big. Dark Matter says crafting is not going to be complicated. It's going to be assembled parts going to a full component. Yeah, if it's that dark, yeah, I have no problem with that at all. It's the idea that people are going to be crafting like missiles and top tier weapons and torpedoes from scratch. It's like no, absolutely not. But yeah, that I have no problem with that. That would be great. Um, Ruben, good to see you, mate. Thank you very much for popping in. Sleep well, my friend, and yeah, we'll see you soon. But thank you much for seeing us. I mean, I have faith what's going to happen. Yeah, absolutely, Tuck. And I think that's generally where I go with it. I just, and the fact that if I don't like crafting happening, I just won't do it. It's not going to be a game breaker for me. It's just that sort of thing. So I don't go into any game thinking I've got to like every single part of it. That's just not how I roll. Yeah. So yeah. By the time it's fully up, PCI 8 will be having 700 terabyte installs. This don't matter. Oh God, no! I hope not. Yeah, yeah. I think the point that's being made is that obviously we're going to need new files, new install space for the Pyro system, blam, and then they're going to have to add it again for every new system that comes in. So it's a valid question about how big the game is going to end up. So yeah. We've had the blueprint in since last sitcom, right? Says Tom. Which bit for Tom? What for Pyro itself, or it was the first time we got our hands on it was at sitcom, the demo and stuff, and then they obviously rolled out the public test. But I haven't been into Pyro yet. I haven't set foot in it, so that's gonna be a video in itself. Yeah. Walter Hack says, "How do you guys think the whole scene needs to be fixed to work 100% of the time? I just don't feel that physicalizing everything is a good idea." Um, Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, they might end up dialing back on some of it. My biggest concern at the moment isn't actually the physicalizing; it's the needing high fidelity models on everything. Like the inventory could just be art; it doesn't need to be fully rendered 3D models. Same with the engineering map. If what we had was something like the Hammerhead image they first gave us, I'd be all right with that. I wouldn't have a problem with that at all. It doesn't need to be stuff that's going to make some people's graphics cards melt down. That'd just be entirely unnecessary. But yeah, we'll see. I bet the Atlas could be upgraded to a combat exosuit, akin to those of game Titanfall 2. The right hand's tractor beam can be replaced while the left hand is an unequipped slot for an additional gear. So Titan suits, there are combat Titan suits, or there will be. We've already seen concept art for them. They're fully enclosed as opposed to the more alien power loader like stuff. But yeah. What ship will you go to Pyro in first, Badges? Good question. I don't know. I'll have a think. I'll come back and ask you. Shield and Chainsword, Atlas Speedball. I want to have a Thunderhammer, just chuffing great hammer. It just goes and, belts PTV and sends it into orbit. So yeah, the Atlases are going to have different modes to them, and they've talked about there's concept art of Titan charging bays and maintenance bays with the ability to take like the power pack out the back and stuff. So yeah, absolutely. Base building top happy. So yeah, so the base building stuff, they said they only started in January. So I'm really not sure we're going to see any of that this year. They did say on that this wasn't part of the stuff that was going to be in a year, that it was being started Q1 2024. So I don't think we're going to get much of that straight away. But yeah. Good stuff. Right. We are just short of 2300, but I've got an early start in the morning with work. I've got to get into Southampton at the moment. It's taking me 90 minutes to drive a 30-minute journey. I want to talk about it. So yeah, I'm going to probably call it a night there, all. But it has been good fun to see you all. Thank you very much. If you're new in today, again, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to see you. For the old salts, good to see you too. If you want to join the Discord, please do. You know where the link is. I'll add a community role once I'm done shutting down all the stream stuff. But you've been watching Drinkers with Gaming Problems. Thank you very much for stopping by. I'll see you soon.